Good evening, everyone. I hope you all are doing well, and Gravitas AI is thrilled to present another exciting live session. Welcome to our panel discussion on shaping the future of learning, the role of AI in Education 4.0. Today, we'll delve how AI is transforming education through personalized learning experiences, improved accessibility, and innovative teaching methods. We'll explore the significant impact of AI driven tools are having on creating efficient, inclusive, and engaging learning environments. And today we are joined by Mr. Jack, who will share his valuable insights and expertise on this fascinating topic. I would like you to introduce Jack to the audience. So, Jack, please share your introduction with our audience.
Okay, I was just saying backstage, as it were. I count myself first and foremost as a teacher. I come from a family of teachers, mum, dad, grandparents, all teachers. I'm mainly humanities and a business studies teacher, and I've been teaching at international schools, trained in the UK for about 20 years now, or just under 20 years. That has taken me, I'm very passionate about it, that's taken me to various roles. One of the main one that I've set up is something called ECM Tutors, which is a peer tutoring initiative to try and get equality in education around the world. And then as a natural progression from that, I've led into the benefits of AI, and I have been writing about it and passionate about the ethical use of it, the merits of the ethical use of it. And that's led me into YouTube channel and social media and writing lots about it. And that's how I find myself here, I guess.
Yeah, and I would also like to add that Jack leads training courses globally, sharing his expertise as a LinkedIn top voice. And through his YouTube channel also, he runs a social enterprise called ECM Tutors, which aims to reduce educational inequalities for children around the world. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you very much.
Also, we have with us today Mr. Aarsh, who is the co-founder of Gravitas AI. Welcome, Aarsh.
Thank you, Roshali.
So let's delve into our first segment, that is the opening keynote. So, Jack, how, according to you, does AI contribute to personalized learning, and what does this mean for students and teachers?
It's a big question. And I think whatever you say, I think whenever we're talking about AI, what I say today could be wrong tomorrow because it's moving at such a fast pace. So don't quote me on this in a week. But I think where to start with that question is you have to look at currently what the strengths and weaknesses are of AI, what it's good at and what it's not so good at. And it has got limitations in terms of using things like ChatGPT, which I'd mainly talk about. It's mainly the one that I use. Then it's got some limitations if we're using it to get accurate research. We know that there are alternatives like Perplexity, but the general research out there, what it is very, very good at, it generally seems to be agreed, is ideation, creating ideas, and data analysis. And I think if you embrace those two things, they have enormous benefits for a teacher. So teachers do many things, but if we break it down to one of those roles, in its simplest form, many people think that teaching is just about explaining something to pupils, which in a sense it is. Well, what makes a good explanation? In my mind, a good explanation, to be good at explaining, you need to be good at communicating, you need to be creative, and you need to be empathetic. And they happen to be three things that AI is incredibly good at. It really is very, very good. And if you don't believe it, try it. Don't try it on the 3.5, but try it on GPT-4, which is now out and free for everyone. And I use it every single day for myself to explain hard things to me. And I think that's where it has its merits as a personal tutor, not as a teacher, but as a personal tutor for children. So, for example, I just think you can't go far wrong with the simple chat of entering into ChatGPT, explain as if I was a 10-year-old. That's just fantastic. So I can use that if I'm talking about fiscal policy or something really complicated, but it can be as complicated as you like. Then you can say to ChatGPT, explain fiscal policy to me or to the students as if I'm a 10-year-old, giving the making the examples about surfing, which I'm passionate and interested about. And it can do it. You can take this to 5-year-olds. You can say, get a complicated concept and say, explain this as if it was to a 4-year-old and link it to Paw Patrol. And it won't laugh. It's not judgmental. It will do it. So that just in terms of that simple function of learning, well, it's incredible. You can take that as a teacher and you can say, okay, complicated policy, but my class love basketball. They're 16, but explain it to them as if it's 12, because who doesn't like a simpler explanation? So that as a personal tutor, if we simply look at the role of teaching as just explaining concepts, well, I can't see how you can go against it. There we go. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. And so moving on a very fast pace, as Jack mentioned, that things today will not be things tomorrow. And the more we advance, we'll start using the computational powers more and start utilizing the powers which we are getting through artificial intelligence more benefits, definitely. So in terms of contribution to personalized learning, we are definitely a step ahead in terms of like having some personal information which is tailor made based on the prompts which you are giving to the chat GPT or the LLM models. But there is more scope of personalization, definitely, as you start utilizing it more. So the algorithms will be more enriched to understand more about the kind of behaviors, patterns, etc. a particular person follows, and then it will be more coming towards like it will be giving you more accurate results. In longer run, definitely they can be personalized tutors which can also cater to different kind of audience. So we might from here from a generic type of tools which are there to answer to the whole world, to specific use case driven tools which will be like more niche and more specific in terms of providing information about particular use case, persona, etc. And then the road is open after that as well to get to the next level. Already a lot of like understanding is enriched, and the effort and time is reduced in terms of getting the information, getting structures done, writing up documents and all of these. But yeah, there's more space to explore in this area, definitely.
Thank you, Jack and Aarsh, for the insightful answers. And it's definitely clear that AI's ability to tailor educational content to individual needs is transforming the learning experiences and making it more engaging and effective for students also, while empowering teachers with valuable tools to enhance their teaching methods. And this personalized approach not only addresses diverse learning styles, but also helps in identifying and bridging knowledge gaps efficiently. So thank you both of you for answering this question. And my next question would be that what are the implications of AI in developing students' social and emotional skills?
Okay.
Shall,
Yeah,
who's
please.
first?
Yeah. Go on.
I'm happy. Whichever. Shall I go
Yeah.
first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Social and emotional skills. That's sensitive for anything at school.
Yes.
And I think we don't know. Again, sorry, but we don't know what its potential is. And it's a brave teacher who's going to throw too much at that right now, currently. The evidence that's coming out, though, and I'm no expert, but I do read all of the research because I'm invested in it and I'm interested in it. So there is some interesting evidence. I saw one from Harvard University. I think it came out last week or something like that, but I'm just reading it from it to remember it. But I think they found that GPT-4 is better than 85% of humans at cognitive reappraisal. I had to look at what that means, but they were basically saying, the way I understood the research is that it's good at reframing negative situations and making humans feel positive. So they did this test, Harvard University, and they said they had people who were depressed about a situation, and then they spoke to humans, and the humans tried to cheer them up essentially by saying, well, this situation could be seen in a positive light. And then they also got ChatGPT chatbots to do the same thing, and then independently assessed. And they said 85% of the humans were beaten by chatbot. Well, that's incredible. And if that is correct, then that has absolutely massive implications. There was a similar study, I think, about primary care doctors. They were challenged against doctors versus a chatbot. And again, AI won. Now, does that mean I'm going to start throwing emotional care in my school to ChatGPT? Well, absolutely not. We are not there yet. But I think I already use it in a small sense, in a low risk case, because for years in school, I think if you're trying to teach emotional skills, one of the best ways that teachers have always, nothing new, but one of the ways teachers have tried to do that is through role play. I certainly have. We role play situations if it's about bullying. I remember doing it at school, that you reenact role play and say, well, how did you get that to feel? But the challenge with that always has been in the classroom, the children are going to be silly, of course, because you're acting and you say, okay, act out bullying this child or something like, how do you feel? But it's real, it's children. They are silly about that. Well, as I said before, it's really good at promoting empathy. So if you can put that into a chatbot situation, and I don't think I'm brave enough to send a child away, but if we can do that structured with a teacher, then I'm already using that as a potential. That I can say, okay, let's talk through this situation. And you can get the ChatGPT to role play being on the receiving end. So there are some merits, but again, it's early days. And I don't think any teacher would be foolish enough to be throwing it at a chatbot. But who knows what's going to happen in the future? Those studies show potential.
Yep. So I'll take that question with a pinch of salt. Students' social and emotional skills are something which actually determine how they will be in the future, how they'll take things forward, how they'll like, behave in the society, etc. And at this point of time, as Jack also mentioned, that we are not that evolved in terms of the technology that we should be totally trusting the chatbots. There's As we are going ahead in this direction, and we are moving ahead in this direction with testing cognitive abilities of chatbots versus humans. It is very important that at this point of time, regulations should come in for this, because they can be like conversations between chatbots, conversations between algorithms, but that can go to crazy levels as well, as we have experienced in the previous experiments. I'll not name companies here, but there have been failed experiments which have been very difficult situations. So definitely at this point of time, there's a need of hour that all countries or regulatory bodies come up with a at least starting with MVP version of the regulations to start with, and then keep on evolving that as we evolve in the technology, so that we can use the best part of this technology to cater to all these things, but at the same time be regulated enough so that we have the human importance coming into picture, and how we regulate the AI so that AI can be a friend to us and not overpower us.
Exactly. Thank you, Jack and Ash, for your perspectives. And yes, I also believe that the integration of AI in education offers unique opportunities to enhance students' social and emotional learning by providing tailored interventions and personalized support. So, by leveraging AI driven platforms and tools, educators can create environments that promote empathy, self awareness, and interpersonal skills. So, ultimately, we will be preparing students for the complexities of the modern world that way. So yeah, let's now move to our another round, that is myth busting round, and it's time for that segment where we tackle common misconceptions and shed light on the truth behind them. So there is a common myth these days that AI is only useful for tech savvy students and teachers. So how accessible are AI tools for those who are not tech savvy?
It's
Shall I go
everywhere.
first?
Yes, Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
This is my favorite topic. This is the one that I've spoken about quite a lot. Um, I'm going to be controversial. It's not tech. I hate the fact it's called tech. And sorry if I'm upsetting on this chat. I just hate that label. Um, and the reason, and I think that's damaging. And I think that's putting off a lot of teachers. As I said, I've been a teacher for nearly 20 years. I'm not adverse to tech. I run a website. But if I ever get called into professional development to be introduced to tech at school, I think, like many teachers, I dread it. Teachers have been the testing ground of bad tech from small companies and continue to be for many years, I feel. We get an initiative that's been sold to a school and a director or a headmaster who doesn't really like tech or isn't thoroughly convinced and doesn't have to use it on a daily basis because they don't teach on a daily basis. And then they throw it at you and then they say, well, you learn how to use it and now you have to change everything and do it. And then the development of that, the teaching of that is often run by someone who's very good at coding and very technical, but I'm afraid absolutely, completely unaware of what it's like being a teacher. And that just creates resentment. And it creates increased workloads. And consequently, most tech just flops in schools. It just doesn't work. And that is exactly how most people feel. Most teachers, I believe, feel about AI coming in. There is massive resentment. Oh, another tech thing coming in. But here's the point. This is why it's not tech. It's not. It's nothing to do with coding. It's communication, the skill. And I've been saying this from the start. I hate all of the words. I hate the word prompt even, I have to say. Prompt engineering is just awful. It doesn't exist, and it's going, hopefully. And I'm sorry, again, I'm controversial. But you just communicate. And I spend my time talking to teachers because you ask for children, but it's the same to children and to teachers. Just communicate. And previously that meant just write, pretty much. But now it doesn't even mean that. With multimodal coming in of GPT, the releases that came out last week, you just talk. And you keep talking until you get the right answer. A prompt engineer, well, I can get an answer quickly in one sentence, but who cares? And if there's one group in society that's skilled at communicating, it's teachers. It's what we do every single day. The idea that I'd need a tech person to come and tell me how to use natural language to explain to a super intelligent AI how to express the question that I want to ask is ludicrous. We do it with 30 children who are disinterested. We absolutely can communicate with this supercomputer, but teachers don't believe that. And one of the interesting things in my training, I teach them something and then they do it and they get stuck and they get nervous and they come back and they send me a message and they say, hey, I got stuck at this point. What do I do now? And I go, ask it. Ask it. That's why it just blows my mind. You don't have to know any specific. There isn't a secret. Just talk to it. Just keep talking to it and it will tell you the answer. You can now even put a photo in or put a video in with this multimodal. There are no tricks to it. And therefore, I don't believe it's a tech skill. It's not a skill that needs to be learned. It's a skill that's been taught, not by ICT teachers, computer teachers. It's a skill that's been taught by humanities teachers, by English teachers, ever since day one in education, how to communicate effectively. The idea of I would go around and train teachers how to communicate. Why? They know how to communicate. They do it every single day with disinterested children. So how accessible? They're completely accessible and they're getting ever more accessible. The biggest problem I find with most teachers is how do they find the website, OpenAI? Once they've got it, you just type into it. Oh, but what do I do? And now they don't even have that problem. How do you find it? It's going to appear on their home screen. Again, with the updates, it's going to appear on their mobiles. People will say, yeah, but you've got to know it makes mistakes. Well, critical thinking, you've got to know. Teachers don't know about that. Teachers trust Wikipedia. Teachers trust the newspapers. It's got bias. Do teachers blindly pick up and read the first thing? Or do we teach children to blindly trust what they read? I've never done that. And I wasn't taught that when I was at school. I was taught in history lessons by my history. Here's a resource. Let's analyze it. Let's look for bias. So all of those skills that we've always done, always, they're the fundamental skills that need to be built on. We don't need a new literacy of AI. I'm afraid I don't like that term. We need the tech phobic to do their job, to continue to do exactly what they've done. The English teacher who hates tech is probably still the best teacher of how to use ChatGPT, far better than the person who can code. As I said, passionate and a bit of a rant, but I thoroughly believe it.
Yeah, so definitely, Rick, and I also believe that tech is only an enabler, and ultimately it doesn't solve the problems which is at the ground level. So solutions need to be user centric, and that is where we are heading towards, because previously the solutions were very siloed up, trying to cover up part of the user journey which is being implemented. But with this kind of solutions and the accessibility which has increased, courtesy to chat gpt, no code platforms for coding, chatbots, etc., where like you have just to do drag and drops, etc. So we are evolving in technology so that it can be made more accessible and it can be used by the wider audience. At the same time, ai tools like can be used by people who are not tech savvy, as ultimately the use has to be done by them only. And particularly for artificial intelligence, the word itself is a mythbuster, because artificial intelligence is about mimicking the intelligence of humans. So it has to support the abilities, support like people who are non-tech savvy, support how we are mimicking the user journey of of the problem in hand. So definitely, it's very much accessible now, and it will be more accessible in the future, and it should be seen as a supportive agent.
Thank you so much, guys. I love the way how you guys address this misconception. Thank you for addressing this. And yes, definitely, contrary to popular belief that AI tools are becoming increasingly user friendly and accessible to individuals of all technical backgrounds, and with intuitive interferences and simplified functionalities, even those who are not tech savvy can easily navigate and benefit from AI driven educational platforms. And this accessibility ensures that everyone, regardless of their level of technological proficiency, can harness the power of AI to enhance their learning experience. Yeah. So the next myth that is common these days is that AI will replace teachers these days. So how can we be sure that AI will not replace teachers but rather support them in their roles? And nobody better than Jack can answer this question.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go for it. It's the big question. But it's not just replace teachers. Everyone's worried about their jobs being replaced. Um, in order for that to happen, I think we have to look at two things. First, we have to look at how is the ability of ChatGPT going to increase? We've got ChatGPT 5 coming out. So first of all, what can it do? It's predicted to increase its ability vastly, very, very quickly. But more important than that, far more important than what it can actually do, is what it's perceived to be able to do, how people perceive it. Now, I think businesses, companies, schools are going to try. I think they are. When you talk about, are they going to replace teachers? Well, of course, it makes sense. Teachers are expensive. Humans are expensive. And a ChatGPT, when they watch the videos from OpenAI, they go, wow, well, hang on a minute. I can save on my biggest cost, which is teachers. Businesses will try. Schools will be set up, run by AI robot. I have no doubt. My feeling, and it's an opinion, they will fail currently. They will absolutely fail. And the reason being is because when I was talking earlier about the job of a teacher, I said one thing is explaining, but that's not the job of a teacher. We don't just explain. I've got a 5-year-old and I put my 5-year-old to school. I don't just look to his teacher to explain things. He has the best teacher in the world. I've been lucky. All of his teachers have been absolutely fantastic. They don't just teach him how to count. They teach him morality. They teach him not to hit. They teach him to share. They teach him to be kind. They teach the most important skills beyond counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is no way a parent is going to allow their most prized possession, which is their child, to be tested upon by an AI robot currently. So a business will try it and parents will reject it, I firmly believe. I hope. Currently. However, that's why I say it's about perceptions. Who knows what we're heading for? And this is the scary thing. Who knows what we're heading for in the world? But I don't think this is a question for me as a teacher. Where is AI going? Is it going to be absolutely absurd, it seems currently, but is it going to be acceptable that in 5 years or maybe less, it's going to be acceptable to be dating an AI, to have your best friend to be an AI? Sounds ludicrous, but maybe not. When you look at what happened last week, that's the scary thing. Maybe that is going to be socially acceptable, that children of the future will be marrying some form of AI. I laugh as I see it. But if that is acceptable, if we trust that it's absolutely normalized that you can marry an AI, that you can have your best friend as an AI, then and only then will parents say, okay, well, that's socially acceptable. I'll allow my child to be taught. But we are a long, long, long way off that being normal so far. So I cannot see that happening. But as I say, in a week, who knows? There we go. So that's my thought. I don't think there's any danger currently.
Yeah, I've got similar thoughts on this. So no, and not in the near future. And even if it happens, then that will be the case when we'll be totally into machine-driven society, which we are not right now, and we as a society will never want to be. So humans, we are humans, and we need to continue to thrive as a society as well, and continue as a race. So it's very important that AI is always a supporting agent, and that's why the regulations which I talked about is very important at this stage, because now from here on the growth will be exponential. Previously, in the last 4 5 years, when the commercial users were starting to scale up on artificial intelligence, the kind of technology evolution was on a pace, but definitely not as paced as it is now. So with the evolution of LLM models and neural networks into LLM models, and now things how they will grow from here on will be exponential. So definitely need for regulating this, and even if we are getting into the space where machines can do a lot of stuff, there should be a clear divide between what machines can do and what machines should do. So that is where we need to head towards as a society, and definitely I don't also envision like something of that sort happening, that AI will take completely over, it will take over completely on all this things like teaching and coming becoming our best friends, etc. But yeah, definitely it's good to have artificial intelligence. It's good to use as a technology, like we use other pieces of technology like cars or other things, but it has to be in that place. So that is what my thought is, and people can differ on that definitely. But there's definitely a need of very strong regulations on this area.
Thank you, Jack and Ash, for addressing this. And I would like to add to is that it's essential to understand that AI is designed to complement and not replace the vital role of teachers in education. And while AI can assist in tasks like grading and data analysis, it lacks the human touch and emotional intelligence that educators bring to the classroom. So, by way of integrating AI tools, teachers can optimize their time, they can personalize learning experiences, and also they can provide targeted support to students. So ultimately they can enhance the overall quality of the education. So this is a collaborative approach that ensures that teachers remain at the heart of the educational process, guiding and inspiring students to reach their full potential. So now it's time for our advice segment, where we turn to seasoned professionals in the field for their invaluable insights and recommendations. So, Jack, how can AI be used to bridge the digital divide and ensure all students have access to quality education?
It's a complicated one, and I think it comes down to two issues. The first is because it's got to come from the companies. It's got to come from these big players like OpenAI. So last week, they made ChatGPT 4, the premium model, available to everyone. Well, that is huge because it was creating inequality. If you weren't paying, you were trying 3.5, the older model, it was pretty rubbish. And people who are passionate, I always say, I'm passionate because I paid from the start for GPT-4. People who I go, oh, try it, I say to other people, and then they try it on 3.5 and they go, look at this output. And you go, oh, yeah, I get it. And that's why they're not so passionate. So if those companies give premium models for free to everyone, they give those access, then yes, it can lower inequality to a point. But that depends on them. I'm hopeful about that because of the war between Google now with OpenAI. They're going to push to get this everyone with access. But at the same point, I think GPT-5 is coming out, and then that's going to jump me as the paid member ahead of the GPT-4s. But GPT-4 is pretty incredible. I mean, it's beating 85%, or they're disputing that fact, but pretty much 85% of humans at the bar exam in America, the lawyer exam. So everyone having access to that level of insight is pretty great. But the bigger issue about this digital divide is, well, what happens if you haven't got internet? And that's huge. And I've been working pre-AI, I've been working on this. because I think there's something like 3 billion people in the world who don't have open AI. And that was one of my aims with the social enterprise that I run, ECM Tutors, is trying to get education to those people who don't have internet. And one of the ways I've done that, I work with a fantastic company called World Mobile. And they're a noble company, and their mission is to try and get the unconnected connected. So they're working across, they tell me, apparently there's massive amounts who are unconnected even in America, but they're working across Africa. I'm piloting a scheme in Zanzibar, and they are getting internet to these rural areas that don't have internet. Well, that just is mission critical to me. There is nothing more, and that's been sped up with AI, because there is no doubt. People can hold back against the teaching, but the teaching is going to be influenced. What I can do as a teacher, what students can do, what a worker can do. Already 70% of bosses, according to Microsoft, say they're looking for AI skilled workers. They'd rather take someone who is skilled in AI and less qualified than someone who's qualified. Well, if you are therefore coming from an area without internet, you are hugely disadvantaged. So I think that money has to be thrown at these companies, because apparently it's not economically viable to get certain people in rural areas in poor countries getting them internet. Well, we need companies out there that fight for those rights. We need companies to get internet to those people. Otherwise, the divide is getting enormous. It's already big, but it will get bigger. But if you can get those children that internet, and OpenAI and Google play their part, I think that divide can be reduced. And I think, as I said, mission critical, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely, and it will be a good tool which will support in this space, as previously with the content revolution. Wikipedia initially, and then Google helped a lot in terms of all of us across the world to get information access easy, and then the video formats come, which is YouTube, etc. So now I remember my MBA times, so we used to do a lot of YouTube searches to know more about concepts and learn from there, and then go back to classes so that we are already aware about things. So that kind of because which I was not able to do that when I was in my engineering, which is about say 4 years before. So the kind of evolution which is happening initially from the text-based content to images to videos, and now with artificial intelligence, definitely the information provision, the scope of information provision, which was being led from the content-driven aspect, can now be from the other side, wherein students can search through AI about the things which they want to, and they can get it easily. Already we have got platforms where we can get a lot of content easily, but it becomes more easy and saves a lot of time. For example, if you're trying to search a content about something which is a bit more complex, you're not able to find easily, maybe on YouTube or other content platforms, with artificial intelligence you can find it pretty easily. So that saves a lot of time and effort. So in that space, definitely it will help a lot. Definitely the challenge is that the digital divide of the internet services, and not places where they don't have internet services. That's still a big challenge, and that needs to be looked into. But yeah, definitely where it's feasible, AI will definitely be of exponential help.
Thank you, Jack and Aarsh, for your enlightening responses on this matter. And leveraging AI technologies can indeed play a crucial role in democratizing education by providing personalized learning experiences and adaptive resources tailored to individual needs, regardless of their geographical location or socio-economic background. And this inclusive approach not only addresses disparities in access, but also empowers students to thrive in an increasingly digitalized world, and fostering equity and excellence in education for all. So, coming towards the end, what are the potential future developments, Jack, according to you, in AI in education over the next decade?
Who knows? Who knows? What are the options tomorrow? Again, it's moving at such an astronomical pace. It's impossible to say. I'm going to throw out a theory that I've been throwing around. I haven't heard anyone agree with me, but let's throw it out there. Let's try. So, controversially, and we don't like to admit it, but ultimately, teachers have a role currently in education where we put children into rank order. It's awful. But ultimately, that is kind of what happens. We have these awful summative exams, which teachers have to train the children for, that says this child is brilliant and this child isn't good.
Hmm.
And the reason we have to have that is because when a good job comes up, let's say it's a job that everyone wants, we can't have 8 billion people applying for it and 8 billion people interviewing for it, sorry, because it's not feasible. They can't interview 8 billion people. And therefore, what they need is they need some sort of summative assessment that they look at the employer and they say, right, well, this child's got 5 A stars at A level. We'll interview them. They're in the shortlist. And this one has got 1 C at A level. Throw them in the bin. We don't like to admit it, but ultimately that's what happens in jobs. They look for candidates. And it's left to teachers to train and then put them into summative exams to decide who makes the shortlist. Now, here's the thing. I'm quite excited that maybe with AI, there's some tests coming out there that maybe it solves that problem. That with AI, it's not there yet, but they are doing lots of experiments, that 8 billion people can apply for that job. They can be interviewed by AI, and AI can fairly and efficiently and cheaply rank them in order for their merit on that job. There is some argument that it could do that very well. It can mix up, it understands psychology, and it says, yes, this is the person. So all the employer has to do is say, look, I'm looking for this job. Everyone applies, interviewed by an AI, and then this is the person for the job. Well, that sounds maybe a bit futuristic and scary. But if I think about that from my job as a teacher, I just love that idea, because the worst part of my job is having to summarize. And I don't most of the time. I leave that to external exams. That leaves me firmly as a teacher doing one thing: helping the children. Not being their judge, not being their assessor. I just have to form them. All of my assessment, if I do it, can be formative. All of my lessons can be to help them. At no point do I have to get the children who I like and go, oh, by the way, you're better than that one, which is what we currently have to do. We don't like to admit it, but that's actually what we do. Well, wouldn't that be amazing if in education you could remove that? You can just say, look, I like all of you, and I've got one job, and it's to train you as much as I can. And then in the future, when you go for a job, you don't need a piece of paper saying, look how good I am. You get your job on the merits. Very difficult. Currently, is the AI going to be fair in doing that? I know we're talking futuristic, but I don't think that's that far-fetched. So there we go. I think that could be, no one agrees with me. I may be talking rubbish, but I think maybe that's where we could be heading. And I'd love it if I didn't have to do any summative assessment.
Yeah, and that's a great vision, and definitely on the same lines, like how AI will evolve and how it will help us in moving to the current scenario of education 4.0. So that there's this education which is accessible by all, how it can be like more accurate or consistent in terms of providing constructive feedback, having common feedback, open feedback loops, how we can increase the personalization in terms of content and education, so that it can be more specific about certain sectors, areas, subjects, and then focusing on certain personas, type of personas. How do we include a bit of like psychology into it, so that it can start understanding more about a bit of emotions and try to convert things and provide content based on that. But there's another very important aspect about training people and getting ready for the next stages in their lives. For example, after education, we typically move ahead with the next stages, which is about getting a job. So if someone is interested in a particular sector, so how do we get them prepared for that particular sector? So evolving these tools, which are quite generic in nature at this point of time, for more personalized learning experience will be definitely an evolution which we'll see in the coming future. Having said that, you never know how soon it will be, how far it will be.
Thank you, Jack and Aarsh, for sharing your insights on this intriguing topic. And looking ahead, we can anticipate significant advancements in AI driven educational technologies, including more sophisticated adaptive learning systems and immersive virtual classrooms and personalized tutoring bots. So, that's it for the day. And thank you, Jack, for joining this live session and for sharing your valuable insights. Your expertise has truly enriched our discussion, and we greatly appreciate your contribution to this important topic. Thank you for joining Jack and Aarsh.
My
Thank you.
pleasure.
Have a nice day.
We extend our gratitude to our viewers for joining us today. We are sure to stay tuned for more captivating live sessions in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.